Hello, everyone, and welcome to our next session. I'm excited to have our speaker here is Brian MacMurdo, ENP with Datamark, and he's going to be doing a session called Grow Through What You Go Through. Take it away, my friend.
Awesome. Thank you, Ricardo. Man, it's an honor to be here. Awesome week so far. Dare to be great for. I want to take a quick second just to thank you, Ricardo, and the sponsors um, for making Dare to be Great for a reality. Um, for daring us all to get out of our comfort zone and to find our greatness. Um, Daring us to be great. So thank you. Um, and I was sharing this with Ricardo right before we came on. I was driving yesterday, and I got behind this van, and the hashtag that was on the back end of this van I thought was pretty awesome. I wanted to share that. I know I shouldn't take pictures of vehicles while I'm driving, but I did. And as you can see there, hashtag find your greatness. Uh, and I was thinking to myself as I was behind that van, there's so many people that are stepping out of their comfort zones this week. So many people that are finding their greatness, and so thought that was fitting to share with you. But like Ricardo said, my name is Brian MacMurdo. I've been in the public safety industry for coming up on 24 years. It's hard to believe how fast time goes by. Um, I'm a project manager with Datamark, which is the public safety GIS team of Michael Baker International. And I started my career uh, in the PSAP. It was a large center in Southwest Ohio, um, and I was 19 years old, so pretty young, starting my career there. But I quickly realized how much I loved it, and I was taking the 911 calls, working the radios. Um, really enjoyed it. I got involved in the training program and was training new employees, and then got involved in leadership and really enjoyed that. I've been active in our state chapters of Ohio APCO and NINA, and had the opportunity to just meet some amazing mentors, amazing people, um, people like you. So thank you for tuning in. It is an honor to be able to share, grow through what you go through today. So let's just jump right in. There's our van again. But I wanted to kind of give you an idea of where we're going throughout the presentation. Um, and so here's our little roadmap. So in our time together, we're going to talk about adversity. We'll define it. Um, we're going to talk about the road of adversity and our story, the story we developed. We'll also talk about our views and attitudes on adversity, and controlling the controllables. There's things that we can control, and things we can't. So we'll talk about that. I'm going to ask you the question: does adversity make you stronger? We'll have a little discussion on that, and then I want to kind of end things with um, talking about how we find ourselves, find who we are through adversity, through the challenges we face. So, what is adversity? It is defined um, as a state or instance of serious or continued difficulty or misfortune. And if there's one consistent theme here on Earth, it's that no matter what, we're all going to face adversity. Whether it's a serious illness of your own illness or of a family member, um, maybe it's the loss of a job, a divorce, a miscarriage. Um, Adversity is going to come. Storms are going to come. If we take a little bit deeper look at adversity, it's also hardships involving anguish, pressure, trials, heartaches, and it can be emotional or physical in nature. and it could be long or short in duration. But but the reality is, adversity is not fun. It's uncomfortable. Um, it's not enjoyable. And something else we can look at through this is that as we all face adversity, um, we're all going to face it. But the reality is, there's some people that are in the midst of it right now. Um, there's some that are coming out of adversity, just coming out of it, and then some that are getting ready to head into it. So our road, as we travel this road of adversity, um, we gain experience. It may be rough, it may be painful, but we gain experience. We develop a story, and I want to just encourage you, like others have encouraged me, um, is don't be afraid to share your story. Um, your pain, your experience, the road you travel. As you share that, um, there's a lot of people that can relate to some of those things. Um, we all go through things, and we go through things differently, but a lot of times in our story, in our walk, people can relate. So don't be afraid to share your story. And it can help. It will and can help encourage others as you go and tell your story. Um, when I think of of people, I've had the opportunity to meet several people, um, some in our industry and some out of our industry that have faced some major adversity, some major challenges, and um, one I wanted to share with you. I met her during Spartan, and I'm going to talk a little bit about Spartan here in just a little bit. But um, she had a granddaughter who had a heart condition, and very very young. And as she was going through these challenges and the struggle of this um, heart defect, um, they had a Facebook page, and it was called Jillian's Journey, and I had liked, started following that page, and of course knew the grandmother. Um, but this child, even through the you would see a picture of her in the hospital bed, and she would be smiling, and there was just so many uplifting, encouraging posts, even in the midst of the adversity that this child was going through. In the family, she still had that smile. They still had that positive message that they were putting out. Last March, um, Jillian passed away, uh, and if I'm not mistaken, was 3 or 4 years old, and I couldn't imagine the loss of a child, um, and I was really impressed with this family. Of course, the pain that they're going through, yet they still put out this positive message, and still were trying to do positive things in the midst of their pain and their adversity. Jillian's journey has switched to Jillian's legacy, and what they have been doing to help others who are in similar circumstances, and others that are in need, has been really amazing. So check them out if you can. A great family. The other one I wanted to tell you real quick about was um, a friend of mine. I actually started the 911 center with him. We started the exact same day as telecommunicators, and became good friends. Shortly after we started, his brother passed away in a fire at the University of Dayton. Um, and that was, for the family, for my friend. Um, he it was difficult, very hard time. But from that, what they did in remembrance of him, and to continue his legacy, was they created the AJ Cohen Memorial Baseball Tournament. Um, and they provided scholarships to students. They also went out to campuses all over the United States to talk about fire prevention, especially in the dorms and things like that. And so just through that pain, the positive that had come out of that, the road they traveled, was difficult, but they were sharing and turning that into a positive. I think of people that we know in our industry. Um, the Denise Amber Lee Foundation, and Nathan Lee, who experienced, and the family who experienced tragic death. Um, and they could be upset and frustrated, yet they turn around and have done something amazing, and that is impacting so many of us in this industry, thousands of people in our industry. So just a huge example. And then the Kyle Plush Foundation, the Ron and Joe Plush, as they lost Kyle. And I know he meant so much to them, and what they're doing now to impact telecommunicators through the Answer the Call Foundation. Just amazing, and a true example. So that adversity, the hurt, the pain, the challenges that that we go through, um, we can come out on the other side um, stronger, wiser. Better than we were going in. We can have that voice that is able to encourage others who may be going through something similar. We may be able to help them along the way. So um, we can grow through what we go through, and sharing your story will help others. So I did want to share a little bit of my story. I've shared this before in another session that I've done, and I go in a little more detail there. I'm going to try to summarize this pretty quickly for you, but I did want to share a little bit of my story, a little bit of my road of adversity. Um, Several years ago, I found myself at an extremely low point, rock bottom. In my life. One thing, I was tipping the scales at over 430 pounds. Um, I was stressed out to the max. I was dealing with some health issues from my parents, my wife's parents, and a few other things. I realized I was depressed, and I needed help. Um, I didn't blink my eyes and get to 430 pounds all of a sudden. This was something that, the way I coped and dealt with stress, um, the things that I suppressed, and then, I handled a lot of that with food. Um, and I worked third shift for 12 years, and during that time, I found myself drinking a lot of Mountain Dew, drinking a lot of 5 hour energy drinks, um, and and eating, to stay awake in the middle of the night. Three to, I don't know if any of you third shifters have that same challenge sometimes. To 3 or 4 in the morning to the end of your shift is pretty challenging. But I'd find myself that I was really snacking a lot there, and then again, the way I was coping and dealing with stress was with that food. And I had a lot of things in the center had happened. I've dealt with several line of duty deaths. Some of those were people that I know, that I've had the opportunity to work with. I was so worried at times about the people around me. I was leading the shift at the time of a line of duty death of two firefighters that had fallen through the floor. Um, I was so worried about making sure everybody else was okay that I really didn't take care of myself, and how I was, coping and dealing with that tragedy. Um, and I've taken other calls that have impacted me, and So, with that and a lot of other things, it came to a culmination. It came to a head one night. I'm sitting out on the back end of my truck, the tailgate. Um, I've got all kinds of stuff rolling around in my head like a derailed train, and I I was ready to be done. I thought things, irrational thoughts like, I'm worth more dead than alive. My family, everybody would be better off if I wasn't here. Those kind of thoughts were right there, right in front of me. I would that night I would make my way back into the house. After pretty much being up all night, um, I make my way back into the house. I would go to bed. But I tell you, the next several days, I found it so difficult to even just get out of bed. I realized that I was depressed and that I was at a crossroads, and that I needed help. There were a couple things, um, like I said, line of duty death and um, the uh, just some other things that were happening, that were going on up here. But I was thinking about some other things about my childhood. I was thinking about my kids, um, and one thing that had really, I guess, it was like a knife to the heart for me, um, was I didn't get to go. Our family didn't really go to the amusement parks or ball games, major league ball games. My father's health wasn't always the greatest, but he was a very very big man, and he had a job that, the way he coped and dealt with stress was through food. And he was again very a large man, and so he couldn't go. He couldn't fit in the roller coaster rides. At the amusement park, he couldn't, um, really fit in the seats at the baseball stadium, and so we didn't do that stuff. Um, I found myself traveling down that road with my kids, and ultimately, I'm my son, my oldest son wanted to ride a roller coaster. We are at the amusement park, and I could walk around at the time, but he wanted to ride that, his first roller coaster, and I wanted to take him on it. And so I'm in line checking, looking at these guys, the other guys, big guys that I'm comparing myself to, and then thinking, am I going to be able to fit on that? And one by one, I'd see, um, them get on. Not that there was a ton of people that were, real big guys trying to get on, but there were several of them, and they were able to ride it. So I honestly thought, as I got up there, that I was not going to have a problem getting on. Um, and as I got on there, um, got in, my son sat down. I started to squish in. I started to pull the bar down, and I just could not get it to latch. Had another employee come over, and he's tried to push it down, and couldn't get it to latch. And there was another one. So two people sitting there trying to push down. And I looked over at my son, and I could see the embarrassment in his eyes, and that hurt. But I was told that they couldn't latch it, and that I would have to get off the ride. And at that point, seeing the embarrassment in my son's eyes, the disappointment in my son's eyes was just, like I said, a knife to the heart. Um, I will say, in this picture here in the lower right, I don't play the guitar all the time at work. Somebody just brought one. I was just playing around, as we were, getting ready for the shift. But I'm sitting there smiling, and one thing I would say at that time, a lot of people didn't know the pain that was behind that smile. I put on a good mask, but there's a lot of pain behind there. Um, I am a St. Louis Cardinal fan, so any of you that are from St. Louis, go Cardinals. Um, I was taking my kids to the ball games, but I was finding that as I was sitting in those seats, I would, have to strategically place my kids, because I couldn't sit next to another adult. I mean, there just wasn't room. So I was, with my kids, I was able to take up half their seat, and I know that wasn't fair to them. But um, when my daughter wanted to ride her first roller coaster, I didn't even try. Didn't even try to do that. Um, and I did find this picture, and I look at it and I smile now, and I look at that fear in her face, but it hurts me because I'm her dad. I should have been there. I should be the one that's got my arm there, holding her back, protecting her, but I wasn't. And I felt guilty. Like, I failed as a dad. I didn't take care of myself. I didn't cope and deal with things the right way that I should. And so again, like all this was just coming to a head for me, and on that at the truck bed on that night, and then the next coming days, um, I realized that I was at a crossroads, and that I could not keep going the direction I was going. Otherwise, I would not be around. I would not see my kids grow up, and I had to do something. So first thing I did, I know we've had several presentations that have talked about EAP. And as a supervisor, I would tell people, call EAP, call EAP. I had never done it. I tell other people to do it, but when I hit this point, I had to do something. And the first thing I did was I called EAP. I didn't even know what to say, but I I got on that phone and I just said, I think I need help. And from what transpired from that point on was, I was able to, I'm thankful, very thankful that I was able to meet a person that I could really unload and talk to, and just the power of unloading some stuff that I think a lot of us can compartmentalize and push down. Um, and I'd say not even, I mean, not alone our industry in 911, but I mean anybody. I mean, there's so many people. I think sometimes we can just compartmentalize and push things down, but to be able to let that out was so helpful. But I knew I wasn't done there. I wasn't. I still needed help. Um, and I did talk to my primary care physician, and we talked about some things, and how to help manage, and that. And then one of the other things that we were talking about was weight loss surgery. And I had lost weight before, and I had put it all back on plus more, and it's something I've always struggled with. um, but I had made the decision that I was going to have weight loss surgery. And I always tell people, it's not the easy route. I was always so worried what people would think, like, oh, he's taking the easy way out, but it's not. There's challenges, and to years later, I can tell you, like, I can eat just as much as almost that I used to before. There's things that still make me sick, but um, it was a tool, and it did help me lose some weight. But it's still just, I mean, it's a battle that I know I'm going to face, and have to deal with my whole life. But I was able to lose some weight as I got lost some weight, and I started getting more active. Um, I met somebody. I'm always amazed by people that come into our life. Sometimes when you don't expect them to. And I had met this one guy who was very much into Spartan races, and he was working with people, kind of training to get them ready for some of them their first Spartan race. And I got involved with this little local group. I mean, just a group of people just getting together, and getting ready for this. Did my first Spartan race. Was amazed. I was finding so many similarities to the obstacles out on that course, to the obstacles and adversity we experience in life. And I would come up against some of these things and not see a way around them, and just look at the impossibility of it. But I would see that I would start to see people around me encouraging me, and wanting to help, and I would make my way through the race and finish, and it was amazing. Um, I began to realize I was capable of more than what I thought I was capable of. I did want to share a couple things with you real quick, just a couple pictures. But in 2019. I was able to complete the trifecta weekend in West Virginia, which it's the 2 days. It ends up being about 26 miles that you do, and just a ton of obstacles. Just a huge mental and physical challenge. But I was able to do that. So many times I felt like I was going to die out there, but I was able to push and get through it. Um, the other one there was my actually first like 13-mile beast that I did, and my family, my kids were all over there where I'm looking in that picture and cheer me on. And I'll be honest with you, I had a tear in my eye. A lot of times while I was out there, I was thinking about that roller coaster. I was thinking about wanting to make my kids proud and all that. Um, so I tell you all this because that was going from where I had some very rational thoughts to where I didn't see a way out or a way through things to then making it to the other side. I definitely grew through that challenge, that adversity, those things that I was up against, and um, I I know that, like, that past adversity, that past challenge, um, prepared me for some of the other things that would come up against me, some other adversity that would come up. Um, uh, you know, just a couple years ago, in December of 2019, we got some bad news about my dad, and we found that he had lung cancer, that it was pretty aggressive, and as we talked to the doctor, they said the best treatment was just going to be immunotherapy, and it's just something that just kind of rocks you. Um, it just kind of starts to put things into perspective. Like, I think a lot of times we can think, we're going to have family members around forever. Um, we're going to have our parents with us forever. We're going to, and even though we know that's not the case, you still, that it just seems like you're going to have so much more time. And then when you get news like that, it really rocks you. And it did us, my brothers and I, my mom, and it was hard. Um, and to hear, we think it's about he'll have about this long to live. I mean, it's just it. Like I said, just I think it puts a lot of things into perspective. Um, my dad, uh, man, I can't say enough about him. I love him. Um, and it's still hard to, as I see these pictures pop up, it's still kind of fresh. Um, he's a fighter. Um, he was a guy that, I mean, just loved everybody. He's a caring man, and I'm thankful that he instilled a lot of that in me, um, and in my kids, and I'm so glad that we had the time to share that we did. But in 2020, July of 2020, um, my dad lost his battle to cancer. Um, and in 2019, I had switched. I had made a big decision, had an opportunity to move into the private sector. So a big decision to leave the center that I had been at my whole career and to take an opportunity into the private sector. And I took it. Um, and, little did I know, um, shortly after we would get that news about my dad. But I'm so thankful that I had the opportunity. It was remote work, and I had the opportunity to sit with him and take meetings and calls from next to his hospital bed, to take him to get these treatments, to spend time with them. And again, I was able to do some of that work from the hospital. And I love this picture. He told me, Brian, I'm going to fight it. I'm going to give it all I got. And that was one of those times where I was able to be right there with him. I want to take a quick second to just to tell you, and it's just time's precious. Don't waste it. Don't waste it on being angry or frustrated or whatever. It's precious. As we were with my dad, so hard to watch that last breath. But in the moment, that time, I truly realized how quickly life goes by. And I just want to say that to you. Enjoy the time that you have with those you love. Enjoy your friends, your family. Pour into others. Pour into others. Your friends, your coworkers, your family. If you haven't told somebody that you love them lately, I mean, tell them. Somebody that's impacted your life, somebody that's touched your life, tell them. We're not guaranteed tomorrow, and I know that kind of went just off a little bit there, but I just really wanted to share that with you. It's something that I learned. I should know that, but I tell you, like, just the reality of it is, like, having my dad pass away just put a lot of things into perspective at how quickly life goes by. We don't want to live with any regrets. So things get tough. I mean, we all face adversity. I like I told you just a little bit ago, I had left the county that I was working for, that I'd been there for over 20 years with, and went into the private sector. And I guess I probably had it in my mind, like, I'm going to go to the private sector and I'm going to retire. I'm going to retire from there. I just, I'm not going to be doing any other jobs but this one. And so, but in February of 2021, I was notified that they were reducing some staff, and that I was going to be one of those that they were letting go. So I just, like, a shock. It was, I'm getting this phone call. Again, thinking this is gonna be a place I'm gonna retire from, and maybe I should have known better. I don't know, but I took that leap, and here I find myself getting this phone call, and being told this is my last day with the company. That was another moment where it just rocks your world. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to tell my wife, how I'm going to tell my kids, and how I'm going to provide for them. Again, my heart sank into my stomach, my head fell into my hands, and I was just, again, shocked. I kind of didn't know what to do, and and that adversity, again, it was something that was very, very challenging. And when you're right there in the midst of it, it's like, what am I going to do? And I'm not going to lie, the next couple days I was wallowing in my sorrows and thinking, this is the end of the world, or whatever. I was down, I was out, I was not sure what was going to happen. But a couple of days after that, I finally, was like, I've got to just deal with this head on. And I'm not gonna let this destroy me. Um, we're gonna be fine. We're gonna make it. I was viewing things a lot differently. Um, I was leaning on my faith. I was, uh, leaning on my support from family and friends, and um, I I knew that I had to go get through this. So I wanted to, again, I had the opportunity to just stay there in the place, that low place I was, or I could um, decide I'm gonna grow through this, and and that's what I did. I started really pushing myself. I will also tell you something else. My identity, I found that my identity was so tied in to my work over all the years of working in the 911 center, helping people, then moving into the private sector. I mean, I poured so much into that. And I really found, like, when I didn't have that, when I didn't have work, my identity, who am I? Who am I? So I want to say to that too, don't let your work be your identity. Don't let it be who you are. So just another little thing I want to share there. But so often we look at adversity as a detriment. We can feel overwhelmed. We need to change our view, our attitude, our mindset, and really look to see adversity as a challenge to succeed, an opportunity to grow. Um, and it can be very hard in that time to do that. You may feel down and out. You may feel like, in the midst of this, like, oh, it's too painful. This is awful. But know that that's an opportunity to grow, an opportunity to an opportunity to become who you were meant to be. So our views on adversity, attitudes and views on adversity. What do you do when you come up against adversity? Do you automatically, I'm gonna, what, I'm going after this, I'm gonna grow through it, I'm gonna become stronger through this? Or is it something where you do like this guy in the picture, like, I'm burying my head in the sand, I don't want to know what's going on around me, I'm gonna wallow in my sorrows, I'm just gonna keep my head down here in the sand? Do you look for avenues of support? um, we have an opportunity to view adversity as an opportunity to grow. Um, and I think that in some of these things, again, our mindset has to be that, like, I can grow through this. It's not the end of who I am. Um, but we could view adversity as an opportunity to grow. I think we could also look at adversity as like, kind of like a seed. Um, the seed, it doesn't germinate or grow just sitting on the shelf in the light, where it's nice and cozy and comfortable. The seed has to be taken and buried into this dark place, and is surrounded by the dirt, um, and it's got to sit there in that hard place, that dark place, that uh, for it to germinate and grow, for the potential that's on the inside of that seed to come out and to come to fruition. So if you're going through something, if you're in the midst of adversity, if you've got that dirt around you, just be reminded, like, that dirt is going to help you grow. It's going to strengthen you, and it's going to help you become all that you were created to be. It's not fun in the midst of adversity, but you will grow. And I know sometimes, when we're you're planting a seed, and sometimes when we're like, we look at that seed as ourselves. When we're planted, we feel like we're being buried. We feel like this is the end. It's this is it. The story's over. Um, but I think we just need to be reminded that no, it's not over. When we're planted, we need to look at it as we're going to get back up again. We're gonna get back up again, and so often it's gonna be stronger than what we were when we went into the ground, when we went into the adversity. So when you're planted, it means that the story's not ending. It's not over. We can't run from adversity. We don't want to hide from it. Um, we don't want to give up. Remember, you're not being buried. You're being planted. I tell you personally, I found throughout my life that these hard seasons, these difficult seasons, that's often when I've had the most significant growth in my life. So, oh, I thought I was sharing the seed. I'm sorry. You were supposed to see the seed a little bit earlier. So there's the seed in the dirt. Don't run from it. Don't hide from it. Don't give up. You're not being buried. You're being planted. Another thing we need to do is we got to, there's going to be things that are going to happen in life. We all know that things are going to be that we can control, but there's going to be things that we can't control, and we've got to we got to understand that again, there's going to be things we can control, and there's things we can't. So we got to control the controllables. Um, you build on what you can control and find ways to manage what you can't. Um, there's ways that we can control the controllables. I think it's really important that we identify those things, identify what you can control and you can't, and then you got to accept the things that you can't control, and that's one of the hardest things. I mean, I know a lot of us are like, we're very control of people, or we want to control the situation, or whatever. We got to accept the things that we cannot control. Define a steps or an action plan. Have an action plan. Control your mindset, how you view the adversity, impossible or possible. And surround yourself with the right people, positive people who will lift you up, who care about you, and they're not gonna tear you down, but lift you up. And I saw this, and I wanted to share this one with you. I thought it was a good illustration um, of what we can control, what you can control, and what you can't. Things that you can control, as you can see there, are things like your boundaries, your thoughts, your actions, your attitude, the goals you set, um, what you give your energy to, how to speak to yourself, and how you handle the challenges. And you can see on the outside there the things that we can't control, how others take care of themselves, what happens around you, the actions of others. So life's juggling act. I've heard it said several times that there are five balls in life that we really juggle. Um, and so if you imagine that you're juggling these balls, one ball is work, one ball is family, one is friends, the other is your health, and the others are your faith, your spiritual life. Um, I think sometimes we need to understand, and I can juggle, believe it or not. If we were all together in person, I would juggle for you, but I did bring uh, some juggling balls. Um, but I wanted to say we need to look at work like a rubber ball, and I can tell you, like, I really didn't look at work as like a rubber ball um, when I lost my job. Um, I We need to look at work as a rubber ball, because if we drop it, it's going to bounce back. It'll bounce back. Um, the other balls, family, friends, your health, we can look at them as they're a little more fragile. Um, if you drop them, they can be scuffed up. They can be hurt, um, and maybe even shattered. And I think sometimes we get so focused on work, and um, that impacts our family, our health, our friends. Um, and I just want to say too, as we are juggling these balls, um, when you're in the midst of adversity, that makes it that much harder to keep these things all up. And so it's so important to get our priorities right. And this is something that we can do even when we're not in the midst of adversity. This is something that can help us through adversity, is get our priorities right, get those things right, and in the right order. So when we are in the midst of adversity, we're able to keep these things up in the air. Um, I can tell you, in my personal life, I've dropped all of them. My family has been impacted. Um, I've worked to pick things back up, and it's challenging in the midst of adversity. It's challenging to keep them all going. So I want to ask: does adversity make you stronger? Um, when we're faced with crisis, when we're in that moment, in that time, that difficult season of adversity, it can be difficult to imagine that this experience, that the road will strengthen you and eventually lead you to some type of growth. It's really hard to see that, but past adversity can help you. It can strengthen you and help you persevere in the challenges that you're faced and come up with. It can help you be more resilient in the following ways. Um, it can increase empathy, so you have a greater ability to understand a situation or issue from another person's perspective, and be able to react with compassion instead of maybe anger or judgment right off the bat. It can trigger growth and positive change, which may provide renewed appreciation for life, enhanced personal strength, and more meaningful relationships, and spiritual growth. Um, I can tell you my adversity, that was the case for me. Leaning on my faith, my family, my friends, and so thankful for each and every one of them. But going through, helping you be more resilient. The past adversities can build confidence in your ability to overcome the obstacles and the challenges that you're faced, that you're up against. They'll help you find the good. Finding the upside to adversity changes the way we can cope and deal with things. Social support is helpful. We can find more hope for our future, and just be healthier and physically and mentally. And this past adversity can help you reframe stress, and adversity, and see it more as a challenge, the opportunity for growth. We're getting close to the end here, but I did want to share this. I thought this, like, adversity cycles. I thought this was pretty interesting, and I like knowing about the comfort zone and what happens when you get outside the comfort zone, and stuff like that. But I thought this was pretty neat. When before adversity, you can see, like, when that adversity comes up against you, you are instantly freaking out. Um, but as you go through it, you're in a growth zone. Your comfort zone's getting bigger, um, and you're growing through that adversity. And then after, you can see, like, that impact there. Like, you're stronger. Your comfort zone is a bigger. Your growth zone is bigger, and your freak out zone, there's not as much of the red that's showing there. So your freak out zone, you're not going to freak out as much. And I found myself, like, in this cycle so many times, that I know, like, when I'm in that adversity, I'm looking at it as an opportunity for growth. Now I know that season of life is helping me develop, helping me grow, into something, again, who I was meant to be. Um, and I also think about, when I look at this, I also think, I don't know why, but I think about my first foot pursuit. When I was, in the 911 center, my very first one. And I think probably some of you can relate to that. Is, like, your heart literally sinks into your stomach. You might feel like you're going to throw up, but you got to push through it. You got to do it. And I think, when I first had one, I would freak out. I'd be like, oh man, my hands would lock up and everything, and I would just have to push and push. But you go through it, and then when you're done, you've gained that experience, and when you have the next one, you're a little bit better at it. And then, those things, I mean, there's always going to be those things that are just going to get you, that are going to throw you off guard, or like just, scare you. But your ability to cope and handle those are going to be so much stronger, and you're going to be able to do that. So, I just want to share that with you. And then one other thing I wanted to share here with you is I truly believe that we can find ourselves, who we are, who we were meant to be, as we travel through that road of adversity, what we were meant to do, what we were meant to, who we were meant to impact. I love Sarah's quote. I've heard it a couple of times from that book, and I forget what the book name is, but the very thing that breaks your heart is the thing that you were meant to help change. That's so powerful. But I think, adversity is that thing too, that, as we go through it, as we travel that road, we find who we are, and what we were meant to do. So through adversity, we learn the importance of things in our lives. We learn what is truly important, and maybe some of the things, those truly important things, are taken away. But through adversity, we learn a lot about ourselves. We learn about our strengths and our weakness. It's in the difficulties that we discover how strong we are. We learn our capacity for endurance. We learn about our faith. And, that faith can be tested at times, and it can grow at times. And so, we learn a lot about ourselves, what we're capable of, the importance of things in our lives, the priorities. But adversity can bring us to a breaking point at times. But if we look look at it as an opportunity to grow and succeed, you will become stronger on the other side and be able to help so many others. And I've got a video here. I'm going to have Ricardo play. We were having some audio issues, but I want to end with this video.
Life can throw you some curves. And it's not just the things that you see coming, but sometimes it's the things that you didn't see coming that hit you out of nowhere, that set you back in such a way that it seems like you can't get over. And you've reached your limit, and your bandwidth is full. You already said, I can't take another thing. And then out of nowhere, here comes something you didn't see coming, and you're in it.
And in your homes, somewhere in your heart, these words are echoing. Am I going to make it? When you get into a tight spot, everything goes against you until it seems that you cannot hold on for a minute longer. Never give up then, for that is just the place and time that the tide will turn. There are times when your energy feels so depleted that you want to give up, that it looks just totally impossible. And I can tell you from my own personal experience, don't give up then. That's when you've got to fall forward, when life is kicking dirt in your face. Don't give up then. That's when most people turn back.
As long as you're alive, there is hope.
You're still alive. You're still here.
It's never too late. That it's never too dark. And we can always turn things around.
There's going to be bad days, there's going to be dark days, but you got to embrace it, because that pain is what makes you stronger.
Pain is the high cost of growth. If you want to grow up, you want to be mature, there is no way to do it without pain. You can't grow up on easy street. And the very thing that discourages you is the very thing that develops you.
No one's coming to save you. No one's coming to save you. The only person that's going to make a drastic change in your life, whether that's physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, the only person that is going to dig you out of your hole is who? You. You have to do it for you.
You've got to become courageous to stand up within yourself, to face it and step forward.
We all get a taste of that victim mentality, the why me. You can become the victim of the situation or the victor of the situation. You need to be the master of your emotions, not let them affect you. You're the dictator. You're the captain of your boat, whether you let things affect you in a negative way or a positive way. I don't lose. I only win or learn. In life, there's only winning or learning. All your problems become gifts once you learn from them.
And some of you have allowed adversity to make you stop. And I'm telling you right now, don't give up. I'm telling you right now, don't give in. Get through it. Execute, execute, execute. In the midst of adversity, execute. You're going to work through this. You're going to get up. You're going to get dressed. You're going to get out. And you're going to do what you've been called to do. You're going to be what you called to be. And you're going to prove that everybody that tried to break you, everybody that tried to kill your dream, you're going to prove all of them wrong. And if you can work through your pain, I'm guaranteeing you, on the other side is a reward. Pain is not permanent. Pain is temporary.
Thanks, Ricardo. Appreciate you playing that. I want to leave you with one more thing here. Let me get my screen back up. I want to give you my contact info. There we go. Give you my contact info, but I want to tell you too that the struggle that maybe you're in today, that you're experiencing, know that it's developing the strength that you'll need for tomorrow. I've got my personal email up there, my LinkedIn if you want to connect there, my little scan code there. You can get my number. Just want to throw it out there that you can grow through what you go through. Struggle that you're in today is developing the strength that you need for tomorrow. And thank you guys for all that you do. And not only for your employer, but your families, your friends. And hope you have a great rest of the virtual conference here.
Excellent work, my friend, as always. Powerful, powerful stuff, especially that video there. Man, I know, I remember going through some shit myself, especially when I was in dispatch. And having people tell me when I first started exploring doing everything that I do now, which started as a college project back in dispatch, because I mean, it was through my struggle, through my own struggles and everything, and trying to figure out what to do. And what I thought was killing me through my burnout is actually what saved me, which was doing more projects and turning what I was doing into public education, but also for others to learn and not feel alone, and just pushing and pushing when I felt like there was nothing left. And that video, your story, a lot of people who have spoken this week, and those in the comments, I mean, this is what it's all about. And like I've said in other sessions, it's good for us to be able to learn from each other. It sucks that sometimes we have to learn from these moments, or have to have these moments to learn from it. But I think it also helps us become who we are now, and helps others learn from us, and just continue to feel the love. So thank you, man. Thank you so much.
No, you're welcome. I thank you, Ricardo. I mean, giving us this platform, this opportunity to share. And I think you've been one that's always encouraged all of us to share our stories, and so no, thank you.
It's I appreciate it. There's truly a power in storytelling, and every single session has proved that. And all of you here, whether you're watching right now live or in the replay, which is available forever, it's always available. You'll be able to learn from these stories as well. So please make sure to reach out to Brian for any questions or just anything for his story and what he does. And just thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're going to be going to the next session, and as always with all of the others, I'm going to bring you there with me. And I'm going to be jumping into the green room here in just a moment with our next speaker, who is Drew Clark. And it is going to be